feel like John's put a hard act to follow, so I'm going to apologise for one
Yeah, but you're right wing, so you should be able
I'm
to do
not
it.
right wing, I'm with free market.
Oh, sorry.
This is also a very interesting debate for me. It's something that I haven't done a huge amount of work in, so looking into it before this debate was quite enlightening from lots of perspectives. From my point of view, the way I've interpreted the motion and why I feel like the current system we have does trap people in this system of dependency is due to fundamental flaws in the system we have. It's nothing to do with the people that receive benefits. It's not anything to do with this Daily Mail depiction, and there are other news streams available, that these people are lazy or anything like that. I wanted from the onset to distance myself from that, because that's simply not the case. The problem is that the system we have that is there to protect people and to offer a safety blanket. Sorry, this new mic.
Shout!
The case is that the system that we have is fundamentally flawed. So people are trapped in this kind of culture of dependency. And there's three reasons for this, and that's what I want to spend my 7 minutes going into. The first one is this idea that as you move from being in benefits rather, to employment, whether it be a low-hour job a week or full-time employment, the amount that you actually gain from your increase in earnings, and in jargon language this is something called an effective marginal tax rate, which doesn't mean very much. But if you think about it, if you're moving from being on income support, tax credits, benefits, and then move into a job that's on minimum wage, you're earning a wage, but then you're also seeing a retraction in your benefits. And this is a severe problem in the UK, because that rate at which you lose your benefits and earn income, but that income is also taxed, is extremely high. So in the UK, in the worst case scenario, for every extra pound that you earn, you're only actually gaining about 4p extra income. And this is why people are trapped in this system where they have to make that ridiculous situation between, am I better off? And better off is a ridiculous way of looking at it, because they're not better off being on benefits or being in work, because it's basically this decision of which is the lesser two evils. Now this is something that the current system, an inherent flaw in the current system. And, sorry, slightly lost my train of thought. No, it's fine. So that's the first flaw that we have in the system at the moment. The second flaw that we have, and a real way that our current benefit system fails the people that it's aiming to protect, is this idea of poverty of ambition for the long-term unemployed. Yes, it may be true that a small proportion of people are unemployed for long periods of time, but just because a problem is small doesn't mean it's not a problem. In 2008, 2 million working age adults were claiming out-of-work benefits for more than 5 years. Now I don't know what that figure is at the moment, but that is a substantial problem. And this is something that our system at the moment fails to address. You have had examples of where government schemes have attempted to give people back skills that help you enter the workplace after being out of work for a long period of time. We all know what it's like going into work after a week on holiday, and it does take you about a week to get back into the swing of things. And if you're out of work for months, years, any longer than that, then this feeling is amplified beyond imagination, and it's not really a matter of how much you're earning anymore. It's whether you have the confidence and the skills to be able to actually get a job. Now, a good example of something the government tried to do was the work experience programme, where people out of work would be able to spend time getting work experience with employers and be able to keep their job seekers allowance and everything, to be able to give them the confidence and the skills to make that transition and try and move into employment. Now this scheme essentially was just demolished because people saw it as a form of slave labour. So other schemes like this have sort of met a similar demise, or just simply haven't been publicised enough, so the people that they aim to help simply don't know they exist. This is another area where people are trapped in dependency, because where they want to move into work, there simply aren't the provisions to help them. And the final point I want to raise, where we see a huge systematic failing, is this fixation on increased government spending, social security, and things like the living wage campaign, which obviously have hugely admirable and noble ambitions, but the way to help people isn't necessarily by cutting them a bigger and bigger check. We have a huge problem with how expensive it is to live in the UK at the moment. Of course, it's absolutely ridiculous that working full time doesn't give you enough money to live on. But the solution to that isn't necessarily give people more money. The solution is how can we bring down the costs? And the amount that you can buy with your income is determined by the price of things as well as your income. And this is something government and all parties have simply failed to address, and something which, if we did address, would just completely revolutionise the way that people are able to move out of benefits. And if you're on low pay, it's also such, if the cost of living is massively reduced, you're able to progress so much further. And there's huge amounts that the government could be doing to actually reduce the cost of living, and this simply isn't happening, and it's not even really talked about when it's such an issue, and it's not even addressed in the debate. I think that's a fundamental error that we're making. So essentially, to summarise why I think our benefit system fails the people that it's trying to help, and just essentially isn't fit for purpose anymore. I'm not saying we shouldn't have a benefit system, I'm saying we need one that is reformed appropriately so it actually works for people, so it does help people not only into work, but once they're in work, helps them progress in work. I do think what Patrick was saying about what is this idea of mobility, I think mobility is about empowering people, and that is something that our system at the moment simply doesn't do. So we have lots of fundamental flaws. We have high effective marginal tax rates that mean even if you're in a job, the amount you earn doesn't really equate to an increase in your standard of living, the amount you have. We have this poverty of ambition for the long-term unemployed, where they simply don't have the resources, or there aren't the programs in place to help them progress back into employment. And we have this complete inability to address the costs and why low wages don't go further enough, and why people are finding it so hard to live at the moment. And this is why I think you should vote in favour of the motion.